Number 2 in our list here, we have Dame Lillard, the best rapper in the NBA. Like I know I've talked bad about Portland here and there, about the potential that they haven't been able to win it all, but consistently year over year, that team gets hurt. That team fails to put extra stars around him besides just CJ McCollum. And let's be honest, when you're looking at other players, other teams in the league where second star is Anthony Davis, CJ's just not on the same planet.
Yeah, I mean, Damian Lillard ultimately just finds himself in a similar situation to James Harden in that regard, where the farthest that team's ever made it has been the conference finals, and then they just get beat by better teams. I don't even know if the Rockets they've made a conference finals, if I'm not mistaken, but the Blazers have made two in the last 4 years. But still, like you said, they haven't done enough to actually put themselves over anymore. And we know he's one of the top probably three just pure scorers in the NBA, but it hasn't resulted in playoff. It hasn't resulted in a playoff championship, which is just prevents him from, I guess, being higher. Where number one also hasn't won a title, but everyone knows the potential of number one. He already has essentially a better stat line than Damian Lillard. I just find it ironic that when we looked at all of the other positions, a huge stat that we went off was wins added and value added. And Damian Lillard was like LeBron James, like Giannis, like James Harden, like Anthony Davis,
Same level.
two times as much as any other player at the position, including the guy at number one. He had twice as less wins added than Damian Lillard, and normally that would get you the one spot. But because we know that the guy ahead of him just has a bit more tools in his arsenal, he still doesn't get the number one spot, and that really sucks for him because even in a year where he essentially does
Sucks for Dame.
yeah, even in the year where he essentially does everything he's supposed to, not just in terms of numbers on the board, but making the whole team better, they still didn't have much success. So that's something that just brings him down just one
That's what it
spot.
comes down to.
Yeah, that's just what it came down to for me. Because normally, looking at things like that, I would have put him number one without hesitation. But still,
Yeah, I my main reason why he wouldn't be over top of our guy we have here at number 1 is the career potential. A bad season from Damian Lillard is a season where he probably gets 24 or 25 points per game in their ninth seed. Like that's a bad year.
I would say that's actually an average year. If you look at it, last year was a really breakout. I believe before that,
He was like 24-7, wasn't he?
he had
24-9.
I believe he had 25 the year before that, taking a quick look. Yeah, 25 and 8, 26. His career high before that was 27. So that 30, I mean, we don't know if it's even going to be consistent, like you're saying. The fact
That,
he's even number two over a guy like Kyrie, some people might question because this year, Kyrie could have a much better year than Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard,
but again, Kyrie, uh, Kyrie was hurt last year. Damian Lillard just had a career year.
yeah, exactly. And
That's
I
the main
guess,
difference to me.
yeah, and the hope, obviously, with him being above Irving is that he has another year similar to that, where he probably has a couple years left in this 30 point per game area. But it's very possible that he could just go back down to 26 and he ends up somewhere in the top five instead of number
Still
two.
a great player if you put him around. If you put him with the good players around him, he can still be a leader of a winning team. It just so
Absolutely.
happens that it's on that team that he needs more support than just a B right star like McCollum. They need either another really big star or they need to bring in someone. I hope Nurkic is that player for them this year. But Lillard, it's just sad to say because any other year before the person we had number 1 got drafted into the NBA, if Lillard would have had a year like he had last year, he would have been the number 1 point guard in the league.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yeah, like he had over plus 70 value compared to the guy who's at number two, who's number one on this list. Who, like you said, if he wasn't drafted, it's an even wider margin for Damian Lillard. He had over, for example, value added in terms of the guy not including the guy at number one before we spoil it. In comparison to Trey Young, who was third, he had over 100 more points in the value added sector. So this is a guy who clearly is a huge asset to the Portland Trailblazers, but somehow still can't find himself in the top spot.